Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome into the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, May 27th, 2015. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm very happy to be joined by Tony Gerdeman. He is the senior writer of the Ozone. You can follow him on Twitter at GerdOzone. You probably already do follow him on Twitter if you're a Buckeye fan. But, Tony, welcome into the show, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dave. It is very good to be here.
The million-dollar question, we won't beat around the bush here. The quarterback situation, give me your prediction here. I'll tell you first what I've been thinking is going to happen. I think Cardale Jones is going to start the season as a starter, but I think J.T. Barrett has to play, or vice versa. If they go with Barrett, I think Jones has to play. I can't imagine either one of those guys rotting on the sidelines. I know the dreaded two-quarterback system, right? And with Braxton Miller, we just don't know yet. We don't even know if he's going to be healthy enough to play, but I think at least those two guys, Cardale and JT, will play. I think Cardale will be the starter to begin the season. What is your prediction, my friend? What do you think will happen?
I'm sticking with the JT Barrett. I'm picking JT Barrett, but everybody that talks to me who says they have an insight or they know this or know that, they say Cardale or they say Braxton Miller, assuming he's healthy. Nobody who claims to know something, is saying JT Barrett. But the way I see it is, he just came off of a season doing something that, playing the position better than any Ohio State quarterback ever. Did something that, in 125 years of Ohio State football, nobody has come close to doing. And he did it in his, redshirt freshman season. Imagine what he would be, as a redshirt sophomore. I think there's no wrong decision. I'll just go with JT Barrett because of the things he did on the field, and I think people sort of forget his Michigan State game and what he did in overtime against Penn State and things of that nature because of what Ezekiel Elliott and Cardale Jones did in the playoffs. And I understand it, but I'll be the one going down on the JT Barrett ship, I think.
I don't think you're the only one. I mean, there's a lot of people I know in Bucknuts who feel the same way. It's almost like a split, not quite down the middle. We did a poll, and I know Cardale at the edge, but JT has a lot of backers, and I try and stay neutral in this. I don't want to root for one guy or the other. I think both guys have their merits. As you mentioned, this is why I think even if Cardale is the starter, there's no way you can bench JT Barrett. I mean, he has to play in some capacity. He's turned in the best season ever by an Ohio State quarterback, as you said. I mean, that's kind of a pretty cool mantle to have right there. You have the best season ever by an Ohio State quarterback, and then Cardale doing what he did, leading them to the national championship. I think both those guys have to play, but we'll see what happens. It's definitely a great problem to have, not just a good problem to have.
Do you think, not to interrupt you, but do you think Ohio State wins the title with JT Barrett last year?
I think they might have. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing, and that's a great question. I know they did with Cardale Jones, and that's the thing. They couldn't.
Yeah. That's the correct answer, I guess, right?
Possible. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Cardale, it's like you don't have to, could they have with Cardale? Like, they did.
Right.
And you had Nick Saban, that was this coach speak, we will never know. I tend to think Nick Saban was being very honest when he said, completely beaten down in that post-game press conference, which is great to watch if you're into some tomfoolery. I've watched it probably 3 or 4 times. He said flat out Cardale Jones.
That's my ringtone.
Yeah, because he opens up the field so much, and there was not much film on in addition, and it's just such a great problem to have. But yeah, I think clearly they would have beaten Wisconsin by a sizable amount. I think they would have definitely beaten Oregon with JT Barrett. With Alabama's the one game that I wonder about. But yeah, I think it's possible they would have won with JT. But with Cardale, they did win. All right, moving on to I did a story on our site yesterday about this, Tony. People are throwing around the word dynasty a lot with the Buckeyes. Not saying they are a dynasty yet, but they are on the verge of being a dynasty. They're going to be a dynasty. That is a bold word to throw around. It's so rare. It's so hard to win the national championship in college football, and hopefully the Buckeyes go on a crazy run and become a dynasty. Your thoughts on that? Do you think this is a legitimate debate, or do you kind of laugh when you hear people say that the Buckeyes are on the verge of a dynasty?
Well, I guess what defines a dynasty? Is it winning a national championship every year? Because things just got a lot harder than they have been, for the past, 50, 60, 100 years to win a title, because you've got to go through the playoff now. And so many things have to go just right to win a title, that to expect it to happen a second year and a third year, I think that's asking a lot. I mean, look how many times Jim Tressel's teams were close but couldn't quite get there. I mean, the 2003 season, if they beat Wisconsin, maybe they have a chance, or if they beat Michigan, they probably have a chance. But just so many small breaks, and if the Penn State game goes, one play different last year, then Ohio State's season is done. And yeah, they'll be the most talented team on every field they play on, probably. But weren't they last year too?
Right. I mean, they were the underdogs in those last three games, but that doesn't mean they weren't. Obviously, they were more talented than Wisconsin, and more talented than Oregon, and more talented than Alabama. It's just so tough. I mean, if I'm picking one team to win the national title in 2015, it's definitely Ohio State. But if I'm picking Ohio State over the field, I have to pick the field just because of the odds associated with it. And then, if we're defining what a dynasty is, I tried to define that in my piece. I said it has to be at minimum, in my opinion, 3 national titles within a 5-year span. You can't simply go back to back. As tough as that is to do, I mean, that is tough to do. We've only seen that, twice since 1994. That's not enough. I think you have to go more than just back to back. You have to go 3 and 5 years, and it's going to be tough to pull off. But if anybody can do it, it's this team. They're dripping with talent. They have great recruiting classes coming in, and this is a great coaching staff. We'll see. Why I wanted to get your take on that. And then,
I mean, when you look at them, don't you see like a focused program though?
Absolutely. I mean, that's going to be my biggest question this year is, are they going to be hungry enough? But I can't imagine Urban Meyer and Mickey Marotti and the rest of that staff not letting them become like unfocused and letting them get a big head. I see these guys, anything can happen. And I know some people are concerned these guys are getting a big head and some of the fun they're having on Twitter. I get a kick out of all that, and I think they'll be focused this year. They've changed the motto from the chase to the grind, and I think that they're going to be, they're going to want to buck the trend and be that rare repeat national champion. We'll find out soon enough. All right, final topic here. I want to go behind the curtain here. I know a lot of fans probably wonder what it's like to cover Urban Meyer, and we're at every press conference almost, and I want to get your take on what it's like to cover Urban Meyer. What has surprised you about covering Urban Meyer? And I'll go first. I heard so much stuff when he was hired that, you guys aren't going to like covering him, this and that. I think he has been really cool to us. I think, he gives us thoughtful answers. He hasn't been – there's been times when he could have been combative with the media, or even kind of somebody asked him a dumb question. He could have really put a reporter in a bad spot. He's had several chances to do that, and he never does it. I think he's been very cordial with us, cool with us, and gives us great answers. And it's been a pleasant surprise. And we're now entering our 4th year covering Urban Meyer. I'm curious to get your take, Tony. What has been maybe something or some things that have surprised you about covering Urban Meyer?
I think for me, number one is the honesty with which he talks about a player, whether he's doing well or he's doing poorly. There's very little coach speak that goes on when he is answering a question. I mean, he'll just come out and tell you. And, coming from Jim Tressel, I mean, you could ask him about, Rory Nickel, and he'll give you an answer about, the state of the economy in, Toledo. And, the two don't mix. The answer never meets the question. But, with Urban Meyer, if you ask him, are you concerned about Raekwon McMillan holding up against the Big Ten? He'll give you his actual concerns. He'll tell you his feelings on something. He doesn't really hide much when you ask a question that can be answered. If you ask him something that, he doesn't necessarily want to answer, he'll just tell you, well, I don't want to answer that, or, I'm not going to answer that, and, he'll chuckle at it. But, yeah, I think just the honesty and the clarity with which, he gives his answers, and, a lot of times they make for good and useful quotes, and I think that's what we need most, right?
And he doesn't seem like don't get me wrong, dealing with the media is not his favorite part of the job. I'm not being naive here, but it doesn't seem like he's put off when he talks. It almost seems like sometimes he enjoys it. Not always, probably, but sometimes it's like he enjoys it, where I was told the complete opposite coming in from other reporters that covered him. I don't know if he's changed or if he just feels at home being at Ohio State, or maybe it's just that we're just cool guys to be around. Not at all. But I get the feel that he just has been he's been pretty cool to us over the first 3 years.
Well, do you, I'm not sure if you were there, at the WAC, after one of the availabilities, do you remember him talking about Rod Smith's like 9-second or 11-second block on a punt return or whatever? It might have been last year or the year before he was, booted or whatever. But, he was going on. And after the availability and, the media is leaving the WAC and some of us are hanging around, he came back in and showed it to us on film. And, he was excited about it still. And this is, 3 or 4 days after the fact. He's like, look at this. And he's rewinding it and playing it. And, he was just talking to us about football. And, that's, if you want a little bit of behind the curtain, I mean, that's what that was. We got to see his excitement for something as simple as a block, but for a football coach, there's nothing simple about a block,
Yeah, he's very genuine, and I loved Jim Tressel, but yeah, he would filibuster pretty much any question we asked, and Jim Tressel was wittier than some people give him credit for. Yeah. I think most Ohio State fans know this, and the media knows this. He could be a funny guy, but when he was on the record, he wasn't trying to be a funny guy. But it's been a treat covering Jim Tressel and then covering Urban Meyer. I really thought during the Jim Tressel era, I remember thinking time and time again, Tony, like, well, I hope Ohio State fans enjoy this because whoever follows Jim Tressel is not going to be anywhere near as good as him. And not counting Luke Fickell, but to follow Jim Tressel with Urban Meyer, I mean, Buckeye fans couldn't be in a better spot. All right, well, I really appreciate you joining me here on Bucknuts Morning 5. Tell me what's going on right now on the Ozone. You guys are the granddaddy of the Ohio State sites. I got to throw that out there. You guys launched in 1996. I think Bucknuts was the second. We launched in 1999.
I believe so.
1996, the Ozone launched. What's going on with the Ozone right now? I know you do a little bit of everything. You cover the team. You do recruiting. What's something that fans need to know about the Ozone right now?
Right now we're just, gearing up for. Right now we're still getting through some of the storylines from spring and how that parlays into the summer and what goes on in the summer. And I think I'm working on some stuff, some recruiting stuff. Not nothing talking to recruits or anything, but more like data research type things, like which states in the Big Ten footprint are keeping their kids home and stuff like that, because the talent decline in the Big Ten is always such a popular topic, and I'm looking to see who's actually letting these kids leave the state, and once the Big Ten stops that, then I think things could really change, and I think they've already changed. But with like Maryland and New Jersey, if those two schools, Rutgers and Maryland, if they keep their kids home, you're talking about two programs that could be 9, 10, 11 wins a year just by keeping their own kids at home. So stuff like that, just stuff to keep us going through the summer until fall camp opens in the first week of August.
He is Tony Gerdeman, senior writer of the Ozone. Follow him on Twitter at GerdOzone. Gerd, thank you so much for your knowledge and your time. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Dave. Talk to you later.
Thanks to all the listeners out there as well. Hope you guys have a great day. Take it away, best damn band in the land.